they came and they've grown, and we've ended up with pumpkins in places where I didn't expect to see pumpkins. Morning all, how are you doing? We're back at the pumpkins. It's Saturday morning. We've got 9 days till Halloween, so we've got quite a few carvers left. We've done pretty well at getting sold out of some of the others, the sort of speciality ones, but we've got quite a few carvers, and some of them will go over the next week. We will end up with some left, like I said last week, and they'll end up going to feed pigs. One thing what I do really enjoy about growing the pumpkins is I'm not artistic. I'm an engineer. I don't do artistic stuff. I've got a good imagination and a good problem solving ability, but artistically doesn't exist. So when we start seeing the pictures of what people have done with the pumpkins that we've grown and we've supplied to our customers, it's just, for me, it's absolutely mind-blowing. What people can create just amazes me, and that's one of the things that I do really enjoy about growing the pumpkins. Do you ever feel you don't get out what you're putting in? So I've got to the part of the story where we're going to start weeding the pumpkins now. We did the transplanting, they're growing, and they've got to the point where the plants have started coming through, the seeds have started to show, and they've got to a reasonable size whereby they're sort of having to compete with the weeds. So this is where it all started. This is where the growing pumpkin started because of the pandemic, and because I didn't expect to be out and demonstrating the weeders that we import from Italy and sell. This is where it all started. So now we go through the weeder, and we do it two different ways. We go through with the weeder with the heads fixed and no one on the back. So you can basically, because it's hydraulic and the hydraulics hold the position of the rotating heads as you go through the rows, you can go through and you can take out quite a bit of the weed like that, and then we go through with someone on the back, and that's when we go through and we're like getting the weed that's in between the plants as we go down the row, and that's how we can sort of transform a field from looking like quite a mess to looking pretty smart. And there's some drone videos that I'll show that sort of prove that. The one thing that amazes me about this year is that we went through with the weeder and it looked like there was a lot of gaps and there was a lot of seed that hadn't germinated, and I heard from other people that some others had a similar sort of issue. But when we've come to harvest them, yes, some areas were still like that, but other areas, although the plants and the pumpkins weren't there when we weeded them, they came and they've grown, and we've ended up with pumpkins in places where I didn't expect to see pumpkins. depending on the year, sometimes we have to go through more than once with someone on the back doing the full job. You sort of get to the point where the pumpkins are so big that you can't, they won't fit through the weeder. At that point, normally you're quite a way ahead of the weeds anyway, if there has been some comeback, so it's not really an issue. They get to the point where the canopy gets so big it just drowns out the weeds anyway. Made a hell of a difference having the weeder and having gone through with the weeder compared to if we hadn't. The biggest problem is if you've got weeds, those weeds are stealing resources such as water and nutrition out of the ground. That means that your pumpkins can't grow. So my friend's dad's saying was, you can only grow one good crop, so you either grow good pumpkins or weeds. Which do you want to grow? So that's sort of the reason behind the weeding job. Try and give the pumpkins as good an opportunity to make as good a use of all the resources that are in the soil and the rain that comes to produce as good a plant as possible and as good a pumpkins as possible. We've been very lucky with the weather. Again, it's Saturday morning, it rained yesterday, it rained pretty much all day the day before, and the field's pretty wet, but it's not stupid, and the Fergie will do a good job of minimising how much mud and mess it makes to get their pumpkins out while we're picking them into the tubs. So yeah, next week's half term in England, so a lot of kids are off school, which is handy in the run up to Halloween, and it's dropped pretty well that Halloween's the Monday after half term, so we're sort of getting all the week when potentially people will be buying pumpkins. If it landed in the middle of the week, obviously you've lost quite a bit of time to potentially sell pumpkins. Next week's going to be an interesting week. We've obviously got pumpkins to try and sell and get as many away as possible. I've also got to go to Dorset to install some lactolines, which is a product that we've developed to help dairy farmers milk their cows. So that's not going to be a 2-minute job, getting all the way down there and fitting that and getting back again. But it's just part of the day job. The day job being agricultural engineering, problem solving, and that's once the pumpkins are finished. The videos will continue and we'll talk more about what we do with that, just to keep the job going really.